as action figure collectors, we tend to have rules. And one of those is that we want to get figures as cheap as possible. I've often encountered figures and passed on them because I'm like, oh, I think I can find this for $2 less. But the thing is, fast, cheap, and good altogether does not exist. And one of the biggest problems with waiting for the lowest price point is that fans also have a fear of missing out. We don't want to lose the chance to get a figure, which is why a lot of times new figures and collectors are often like playing a game of chicken. Do you buy the figure now? Do you wait till it goes on clearance to try to pick it up as cheap as possible, but risk not getting it? And as much as playing chicken is fun when you're a child, as adults, it's a little different. And with the sheer amount of items that are now going on clearance, it's made a lot of us question, it's like, well, wait a minute, should I have bought this figure when it first came out? If I just waited, well, I could have gotten it super cheap. Now, obviously, when movies don't perform, we know that toys are going to go on clearance, even if it's, a toy for an older movie linked to a new one. But properties that also have content that just doesn't hit on Netflix with kids also hits that sort of clearance mark as well. I'll recap all of this actually later in the video. Now, it's not just at retail, but also online. If you pay attention to things like Amazon, you can see that prices eventually go down. So can you be a soothsayer that can see the future? How do you know which figures are going to go on sale? How do you know which ones to chase? Essentially, is there a pattern or code for toys that go on clearance?
Short answer, yes, with an if. Long answer, no, with a but.
Well, short answer, there kind of is. And if you pay attention, you may know which toys to skip and which ones to go after, because we don't want to be without a figure in our collection. All right, if a character is a kind of A-list character, has hit content, and they put out a classic version, the toy is going to sell and continue to go up in price. But if it's an obscure character that doesn't appear in content and, say, worse yet, is wearing a suit, probably not going to go up in price. An obscure character from the 90s that kids have never heard of, not going to rise in price. I mean, $7.99 for Marvel Legends, buy it. Also, even A-list characters, but ones who don't have current contact, like the Fantastic Four. Kids don't know who the Fantastic Four is currently. And not to sound sexist, but if it's a female figure, especially not a lead or a character that does something amazing, probably also not going to go up in price and going to wind up being on clearance because, well, action figures are prominently a boy play pattern versus dolls and hair play and nurturing tends to be a female play pattern. It's not sexist, it's reality. Then, of course, there are those lines that have absolutely no fan base. It's always kind of questionable why toy companies put these things out. But yes, if you can't fill a stadium, if you can't fill an aisle with fans, how do you expect to sell toys? The other issue is when a figure gets re-released for collectors, it's probably going right to the discount aisle because there's not enough customers to support a re-release. If you see a figure that goes through a second production, you could probably wait to pick it up. It's going to go on clearance. As I mentioned earlier, if a movie bombs, even if there's property built on vintage, again, we're not going to see a huge amount of toys from movies, from content that just doesn't perform. So if you're looking at the future and you want to say, okay, new wave is coming out. Do I rush to buy it or do I wait? Yes, I risk missing out on figures, but I could get a better price. So how do you know? Well, let's look at this upcoming Marvel Legends wave with a totally awesome Hulk. Who is going to be a hit and who's going to peg warm? Well, let's analyze that based on the rules that we've just talked about. So obviously this is a mix of classic characters and movie-based characters. Well, classic characters do tend to sell well, and you've got an Iron Man and a Captain America in this wave. I guarantee you they're going to sell well. Karnak, on the other hand, the guy on the far right, the Inhuman, peg warmer. Absolutely. Kids have no idea who this is. And even the 3 female movie figures on the top row there, kind of looking like they're going to peg warm too, because, sorry to say this, but female action figures just don't sell as well as male figures. This is not a sexist thing. This is years and years of field work.
I knew it! Insane theory's 1, regular theory's 1 billion.
So what do you think? Are these good ways to judge whether or not we should rush out to buy a figure or wait for the inevitable clearance? What's your clearance strategy? Are you chasing it? Are you waiting? Do you risk losing out? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for sharing, and see you guys in the next video.